So this segment, we're going to be talking about Snowflake Tories threatening to, not threatening to anymore. They're going to privatise Channel 4. There's a bit here which I would have talked about later, but I might as well talk about it now, which is who's going to be in who would buy Channel 4. So you've got the least regulatory hurdles it'd be faced by the Discovery Network. So the big US pay TV company, which is merging with Warner Media, the parent company of CNN, HBO, and Hollywood Studio behind the Batman and Harry Potter franchises, expressed interest in the last time the broadcaster faced privatization in 2016. So what is likely to happen if it's privatized? So Channel 4's remit has never been to make a profit. The money it makes is reinvested in commissioning and buying programs from mostly British TV production companies, helping to support a key national industry. From what I've read, Channel 4 don't actually make programs, they just kind of buy them or lease them, whatever, rent them from independent companies. And any profit they make is reinvested back into the company, which is a great model because if you look at the ones above, they would have to make a profit for shareholders. Channel 4 doesn't have to do that. They can reinvest everything that they have, which is a much better model in my opinion. Analysts believe that a privatised Channel 4 would face a 40 to 50% cut to its 66 programming budget spent on such content such as news and current affairs, Gogglebox, and it's a sin to force it into a model of a commercially focused broadcaster. So probably be more like ITV or something like that. I think they're a more commercially focused broadcaster. But the simple fact is, a 50% cut potentially to new shows is crazy. When Channel 4 through dispatches does really good work. And because these shows don't typically make a profit, because what you do is, like a lot of these kind of companies that aren't really designed to make a profit, you use the shows that do well to subsidize the shows that don't do so well in terms of financially. This is likely to mean cuts to content. That does not bring in much income from advertising, with Channel 4 relies on for more than 90% of its 1 billion annual revenue. So they make probably 10% through certain other ventures. I think they do an ad-free kind of subscription, but the vast majority of their money comes from adverts, which isn't a surprise. Channel 4 was established by Margaret Thatcher, Thatcher's government in '82 to provide a culturally challenging alternative to BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. Essentially, there were only three channels, and so Thatcher wanted more competition to that, which probably one of the best things Thatcher has done, to be honest. It's publicly owned but commercially funded, unlike the BBC. So Thatcher could have said, probably in 10 years' time or whatever, from '82, so '92, Channel 4 doesn't rely on licence fee payers, relies fully on advertisement, therefore the BBC has to also follow that model. That might have been where she went with that, but, credit where it's due, it's a good thing what she did. What's Channel 4 worth? It's worth about £1 billion, was attached to the broadcaster. And the last privatisation push is very difficult to provide a current estimate. Unlike rivals such as ITV and the BBC, Channel 4's remit means it does not have its own in-house production arm, which means it has to license, other TV shows from other companies. Privatisation in some form has been mooted for about half a dozen times since Channel 4's launch, with the most serious push coming under David Cameron. And that could be Cameron maybe being a snowflake back then, but I think because they genuinely don't believe in, because it's government owned, but it runs itself effectively. They don't believe in that. They believe in privatisation. Shareholders should be able to make a profit, etc. It's just abhorrent to me that they would do this when it's fine, it's doing well, it's not making losses. There's no taxpayer money that actually goes into Channel 4, and it gives a massive amount back to the taxpayer because it doesn't have to pay through dividends. So what it can do is, instead of the money going offshore, they can license loads of programs from UK indie producers. That money gets fed back into the economy. In 2017, Culture Secretary Karen Bradley formally ruled privatisation out, saying Channel 4 was a precious public asset and will be continued to be owned by the country. Instead, the government pushed Channel 4 to relocate significant parts of its operations out of London. About 300 of its 800 staff have now moved to national headquarters in Leeds, as well as creative hubs in Bristol and Glasgow, which is good that they're pushing out. Media in this country is very London-centric. So it's a very good thing it's being pushed out, and no taxpayer money goes into this, which Tory MPs haven't actually understood. So we've got a couple of tweets and things that I wanted to talk about. So
I think it's right.
So you got this from Nadine Dorris, who doesn't actually understand how Channel 4 is funded. This is our culture minister, by the way.
I think it's right that a public service broadcaster in the rapidly changing digital environment that we're in at the moment, I think the future and the longevity of that broadcaster should be brought into question and should be, particularly when it's a receipt of taxpayers' money, it is our responsibility to evaluate whether taxpayers are receiving value for money and whether that model is sustainable in the future. I think it's absolutely right and proper that we should do so. And that is the process we're going through. So I would argue that to say that just because Channel 4 has been established as a public service broadcaster and just because it's in receipt of public money, we should never kind of audit the future of Channel 4 and we should never evaluate how Channel 4 looks in the future and whether or not it's a sustainable and viable model. It's quite right that the government should do that.
See, that would be an okay argument if Channel 4 was in receipt of public money. That would be an okay argument. These are the arguments they make when they want to privatise something, but it's not the worst argument to say, look, they receive taxpayer money, they should go through an audit. However, Channel 4 doesn't receive taxpayer money, does it?
But Channel 4 is not like the BBC. It's not in receipt of licence fee money. It makes its money from commercial operations.
And so, although it's,
it makes its money through advertisement. The BBC needs a licence fee. You can argue the BBC isn't actually funded through taxpayers, it's funded via the licence fee, which is a bit of a mixed argument, I'd say, but you can do that because it's not really taxed, it's optional. But the simple point is, she doesn't even understand how it's funded. We go to, I think this one's Ben, our favourite Ben Bradley, who says, welcome this. The state doesn't need to be owning media. It made sense once when we had a handful of channels, but now we have a million choices. Channel 4 can't raise money on any of its own, which holds it back. Ends up being from the taxpayer, let it free and it will compete, which isn't true. It does compete with everyone else, and it doesn't receive taxpayer money. It's funded through advertisements, just like ITV. You got Ava, who says Ben Bradley has now deleted this, presumably because he discovered Channel 4 doesn't receive public money. And now you might be questioning why, let's see, this is a different story. Whoops. You might be questioning, why did they want to do this? Now, there's multiple stories on it. Channel 4 have, out of the main TV broadcasters, Channel 4 have done the best job of holding the government accountable. Absolutely the best. There was a point where they did the leaders debate and Boris Johnson didn't want to go, so instead of letting Michael Gove in there, who was in the elevator saying, let me through, man, don't hold me back, yo, I'm a big man, instead of doing all that stuff, they said no. It was one on climate change, I think, and they put like a melting statue instead, I think it was of a globe, to replace those people, to say like climate change is a real problem, what are you going to do about it? But it's just sad that if they do privatise Channel 4, it's just going to become another kind of corporate entity which isn't going to do that much in terms of news and educational content. It's going to put the money towards commercial TV shows, which Channel 4 does a lot of commercial TV shows. They do a lot of like crappy, popular television shows, which is fine because that's how it will subsidise itself. That's how it pays for itself. Just like Royal Mail used to, it used to subsidise the rural, less profitable routes and places with bigger towns and cities. That's how they worked. And, Channel 4, it's fine. They have a good model. They're not receiving taxpayer money. It's just these Snowflake Tories are desperate to privatise it. Why? Because they believe privatisation works for everything, which doesn't make sense. And B, they don't like Channel 4 because it holds them accountable. It does a good job. And, no doubt that, whoever, buys it, they might buy it at a slight discounted price and they may not be as critical as the Tories in future. Just like CNN and these other news companies don't do a good job of holding their governments accountable. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.